Well, it's now official, folks. The Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has entered the race for president as of yesterday. He's a candidate for the Republican nomination to become our next president. And the plan was a futuristic liftoff announcement on Twitter with no less than Mr. SpaceX, Mr. Tesla, Mr. Starlink, Elon Musk at his side. But DeSantis critics and even supporters were disappointed. Donald Trump, for one, didn't lose a beat. As many of you know, I played professional baseball for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I know you can never, ever judge a game by the first inning. You can't even judge the game by the first 8 innings. But let's look at 2 things about Ron DeSantis. First, the man. Born in Florida, Ron's parents were hardworking folks. His mother a nurse, his father a TV ratings technician. He was the first in his family to go to college, brilliant from a young age. He was accepted to Yale and then Harvard Law School. Rather than collect a huge salary at a big white shoe firm, Ron DeSantis joined the Navy. He was made a commissioned officer and served as a Navy JAG lawyer during the Iraq War, earning several medals, including the Bronze Star. He left the Navy to run for Congress in Florida, defeating 6 other Republican candidates, and served 3 terms in Congress as a stalwart conservative. In 2018, he ran a come-from-behind race to win as Florida's governor. Governor DeSantis has made Florida the freest among the most prosperous states in the union, pushing through universal school choice, a powerful gun carry law, a strong pro-life bill under his watch. Florida has a $20 billion budget surplus, and that's in a state with actually 0 income tax. DeSantis also has taken on the woke like few others: Disney, critical race theory, ESG. He's proven himself a fighter. And so, Governor Ron DeSantis, welcome to the arena. And welcoming Governor Ron DeSantis. Governor, you and I happen to have something in common. I'm not sure if you even realize it. You played Little League Baseball, Little League World Series. I think you were the captain of the Yale baseball team. I started my baseball career at Rollins College right here in Florida, and I went on to play for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So here's my question. Sir, you played softball. You had a lot of softball last night. A lot of softball going on last night. We have some hardball today. We're going to do a little hardball?
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So let her rip.
Okay, here we go. So the launch. Let's get this off the table right now. The launch, Elon Musk on Twitter Spaces, it bogged down. Your camp says you were so popular you broke the internet. First time anyone has done that. The other side says failure to launch. The memes were all over the place. Can you just tell us how that whole idea of going on Twitter first to announce your candidacy came about?
Well, they were very confident that they had the ability to get a lot of people, and they were anticipating a lot of people, but there were more people that tried to sign up than even what Twitter had anticipated. I was just in a room in Florida, so I didn't really know necessarily what was going on. And so I think it had to do with Elon's account. They called an audible, and then they were able to get it done. But I think what happened with it was because Elon was involved, Twitter was involved, we got way more play about it than we would have if I just would have given a speech. And so somebody asked me earlier today, well, given that Twitter had the 20-minute delay, would you have done it differently? And I was like, well, I would have asked them to have maybe more capacity and say maybe we'll get even more people, but I would not have traded doing a speech. I think that this has been something that a lot of people are talking about, and I think that it's something that as we go forward, we need to be able to speak directly to people, and that's what we did.
Well, there was another option, and this is, kind of a follow-up to that. It could have been a television announcement, and, it's noteworthy. I think Axios even said that Murdoch was ticked off, I think he said, because you did it on Twitter versus Fox first. Have you heard from Murdoch, Rupert, or the Sons?
No, we didn't. But look, I get it. I mean, I understand that different folks, have views on all that stuff. But I think given what Elon and Twitter represent to conservatives, given how we've been censored, I was censored as governor with Jay Bhattacharya during COVID by Google and YouTube. So the fact that Elon bought that and has opened it up, that's been really significant because you can't have a society in which governments colluding with these massive companies to try to stifle dissent. We saw it with the Hunter Biden video that they censored. We saw it during COVID with all the things they censored. And so I think part of it was social media. I'm actually not a big social media guy. I would rather watch you than be on some app. But it is important for a lot of people. But then just the free speech component and how really this is an example of conservatives having a voice again and fighting back against the entrenched legacy media.
And so, Governor, let's talk a little bit about electability. Can you explain the difference between you and Donald Trump? In your words, and I'm not talking about personality differences, we all see that, but policy. What are the policy differences that you bring to the table versus Donald Trump?
Well, first, just in terms of electability, I took a state that had been a 1-point state for a generation, and I got in by less than 1 point. And then 4 years later, we won it by almost 20 points. You can't do that with just Republicans. We got independents by 18%. We won 60% of Hispanics. So that shows it can be done. And Eric, you've seen some of what we've done. I wasn't exactly a pale pastel. I've been bold colors. I've stood strong for what we believe in. I never wilted under pressure, and yet people responded to that. So I think you want to have somebody who can draw people in who may not have traditionally been Republicans and are willing to give us a shot. I think a lot of people realize that Biden is a failure, but I think they're looking for a vehicle that they'll be comfortable getting behind. And I think I could coalesce a pretty good number of people to be able to do that. I do believe that there's a limit to the number of voters that would consider the former president at this point. I mean, we've seen it, in Florida. We've seen it in places like Georgia. I think that there are some people that don't like Biden, but they would like another option. So I think my ceiling is higher in a general election. And I made the pledge to people, if you nominate me through this process, then set your watch to January 20th, 2025, high noon. I'll be there taking the oath. I'll get it done. We'll make it happen.
Yes, sir. But there's a little obstacle on the way there, and you pointed it out. You still have to beat Donald Trump first. And right now the polls have him, up by a substantial margin. How do you plan on closing that gap?
Well, first of all, I haven't been a candidate, and so I've been doing my job in Florida. We just conducted the most effective legislative session, I would argue, in the modern history of the Republican Party. If you look at all the things that we were able to take that were ideas that conservatives have wanted for a lot of time and bring it into reality and put it into law. So we're very proud of that, but that had been my focus. Now we're going to be launching a blitz. We're going to be in these early states. We're really going to be all over the country bringing this message to our voters. And I think at the end of the day, most of our voters obviously appreciate a lot of the things President Trump did. I do. I mean, he's been attacking me a lot, but I still give him credit for the things that he did well, especially, with the economy in the first 3 years. But they also understand that you need someone that can serve 2 terms. You need somebody that's going to be able to win and win big. And so I think we have a lot of folks that will consider somebody like me who has proven to be very strong. I'm standing up to people like Disney, and with due respect to the former president, he's taken Disney's side in this now. I'm standing against Disney. I'm standing for the kids. I'm standing for the parents. I don't think these kids should be sexualized. We took away their self-governing status, and I'm not backing down 1 inch from that. I think our voters want to see somebody that can fight, but also somebody that can win.
So you moved it along a little bit. I was going to ask you whether, last time you were on, I asked you, would you consider being Donald Trump's vice president if he tapped you, or if you end up with the nomination, would you consider Donald Trump? I think a lot of conservatives, we kind of laugh when you hear it, but a lot of conservatives believe that a Trump-DeSantis or DeSantis-Trump ticket is unbeatable. Real quick thought on that, and then we'll go into some of the other stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that some of the things he's been attacking me on, I've been a little surprised at, because he's attacking me from the left. And that really wasn't the Donald Trump from 2015 and 2016. I mean, he was a hard charger leaning in on all the issues, very edgy on conservative issues, and it was part of the reason he did so well. But when he's taken Disney's side against me, I just kind of wonder, like, okay, I get he wants to hit me, but don't take the side of a multinational corporation that wants to sexualize kids. He's also hitting me against voting against immigration amnesty. There was the Goodlatte 2 bill in 2018, and he said that was akin to voting against the wall, but that bill bill was a 2 million person amnesty for illegal aliens, very little money for any border security. All conservatives opposed it. He did support it as president, which a lot of us were upset about. But to hit me for taking the America First position, I just think is a little strange. So I'm not sure what his strategy is, but I think he's taking positions that are a little bit different than 4 or 5 years ago.
Interesting thought, because you open up another lane of this interview, and a lot of people come to me and say, I love Ron DeSantis. I love what he's done in the state. I live here. I agree with them. You've done phenomenal things. This is the freest state in the country. But they also say, I really also think it's Donald Trump's turn, and there's concern. What do you tell the folks, the Trump voters, who say Ron DeSantis is lining up with the establishment wing of the party, the Karl Roves, the Paul Ryans over at Fox, and they're very concerned about that?
Well, I can tell you this, Eric. I have not spoken to Paul Ryan since I've been governor. I've met Karl Rove once in my life. They are not involved in my political operation, so that's just manufactured garbage that people put out there online. So if people are telling you that, I'd hope that they'll look at the facts rather than do that. You also look at my record. How many establishment Republicans would have sent illegal aliens to Martha's Vineyard? How many establishment Republicans would have stood up against Disney? How many establishment Republicans would have signed the bill that I just signed to ban land purchases from people affiliated with the CCP in the state of Florida? We're now being sued by the ACLU for that. How many establishment Republicans would have leaned in to support our children against the pronoun Olympics? We banned the pronoun Olympics in our schools. We're the first state to do that. How many establishment Republicans would have banned gender transition surgeries for minors? We not only would take the doctor's medical license, we'll put the doctor in jail if they are mutilating minors. So on every issue that kind of the old guard of the Republican Party would have shied away from in a New York minute, I'm not only leaning into them, I'm winning against the media and against the left. We say Florida is the place where woke goes to die because we've defeated the left on all these fronts. And my pledge, if I'm elected president after 2 terms, we will leave woke ideology in the dustbin of history.
Governor, another acronym, the NAACP this week decided to issue a travel ban for minorities, warning them don't come to the state because of some of your policies that you outlined right there. I did note that one of the board members on the NAACP board happens to reside in Florida and maybe more. What's your response to the NAACP for my audience?
This is such a stunt. It's a typical political farce. Not only does the president of the NAACP live in Florida, most of the board members have posted on social media pictures of them vacationing in Florida since I've been governor. So this is a typical political stunt. But I do think it's important to point out, in Florida, we don't divvy up by race. We treat everyone in a colorblind fashion. We do, though, happen to have more black-owned businesses than any state in the country. Our African-American students in K-12 perform better than all but a handful of states in terms of their black students because we have school choice, so parents can actually go to the school of their choice. If you're in Chicago or you're in Baltimore, these kids have a better chance of getting shot than getting a decent education. Yet I don't see the NAACP talking about Chicago or Baltimore. No, they're focused on Florida, where people of all races are having the opportunity to get ahead. So we don't bow down to any of those leftist tactics. We fight them back head on. And all I will tell you, people have been talking about boycotting Florida really since I've been governor, every time I do something. And yet we just finished the first quarter of this year, record tourism. We've never had so many people flooding into this state.
Governor, back to a little policy. Let's do foreign policy. Donald Trump was on CNN a couple of weeks ago, and he said when I'm president, he would end the Russia-Ukraine war in a day. In a day. Where are you on that? Talk to us a little bit how you would handle that war, how it handled Putin and Zelensky, and what would be the outcome?
Well, look, I don't know that it could be done in 24 hours. He's prone to rhetorical flourishes, but I do think that his instinct of trying to get a settlement rather than have this thing become a war of attrition or, heaven forbid, escalate with Russia having the largest nuclear arsenal in the world, I do think that that's the right instinct. I would hope that by January of 2025 that this would be finished. But Biden, obviously, I think, has taken a position that he wants this to go on. My view, though, as president, January 25, our number one threat to our country is the Chinese Communist Party. And I think we need to reorient our foreign policy to have a Pacific first emphasis. You know, Europeans, we have allies there. Not all of them agree with us on a lot of these core issues anymore. But the bottom line is they need to do more to be responsible for their own security. And I think Donald Trump was right. He was really the first leader to call them out on making their NATO dues. So I think Europe needs to do more on that continent. I think we need to be working with our Pacific allies to check Chinese expansionism. And then we have to look at our own Western hemisphere and China trying to get more influence, leftist governments on the march. We need a 21st century Monroe Doctrine that looks after our own backyard, because it's not a pretty picture right now.
I would just like you very quickly to weigh in on Xi Jinping decides to invade Taiwan. What does a President Ronald DeSantis do in regards to that? Is it assistance? Is it kinetic? Where does Ron DeSantis go with that?
Well, I think that if we're fortunate enough to get in there, I think Xi's time horizon is a little bit longer than that. So I think what I would really want to do, take steps to be able to deter that from happening. And so that would mean supporting Taiwan with more weaponry. It would mean bolstering our own naval power in the Pacific. Japan is bolstering their military, which they haven't been willing to do in a long time. The Koreans are actually working well with the Japanese. So I think we have an opportunity to create an alliance in the Pacific that would deter Xi Jinping from doing that. And I think that's the goal. I mean, we don't want to end up in a war with China. And I don't think we would end up in a war in China if Xi thinks that the cost of him making a move like that outweighs the benefits. I think if Biden remains president, his cost-benefit analysis is probably going to be, by the end of Biden's second term, that it's better for him to try to take that shot rather than wait.
Final question, sir. Over the weekend, I was running, and I opened up one of the blogs I go to. Politico had a pretty severe hit piece on your wife, Casey, and it was disgusting. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Can you tell us how, Casey, I assume she read the piece. Talk to us about what Politico did. Why do you think they did it, and specifically the timing of it?
Well, look, these are people that are bottom of the barrel type folks, and all they're trying to do is character assassination. They use anonymous sources. They use people that don't even know Casey to try to smear her. But the reason they're doing it is because they know she's an incredibly strong woman. She's a wonderful wife and my best friend, great mother, but she's made a huge difference in the state of Florida. But the left and the media know people love her. She's revered in this state. She is a potent political ally. When she's out in a place like Iowa with me, people rave about her, and so they fear her because they know that she's somebody that's very effective. So we both take it in stride, just in the sense that when you're over the target, that is when they're going to be shooting at you, and they're not going after other candidate spouses because they don't view those spouses as a threat. And so she has taken it in good stride. Everyone that knows her, that read it, and I don't read this stuff, I just kind of do my job, but everyone that read it said it was just absolutely disgusting, just a typical hatchet job. If she were a Democrat, though, Eric, all those media people, they would be treating her like she was the greatest thing since sliced bread, because she's beautiful, she's smart, she's effective. It's just because she's standing for conservative principles that they try to assassinate her character.
Is she ready for this, the wild ride that's about to start or is starting?
She is. I think it makes her stronger, because I think, you have a chance to look, okay, you're either going to let the bastards grind you down or you're not. And we've just had too many things in this country. People have sacrificed over the years in military service, have given their lives so that we could have a free society. If we're going to cower in the face of newspapers and blogs attacking us, then, man, we're not really doing very much to keep this country going. So it's our obligation to be out there. We want to take the fire so that our constituents don't have to. You know, I did it a lot during COVID. I do it, you know, every day now. And she's of the same mindset. She's a remarkably strong woman, and I'm very proud of her, and I love her very much.
Governor Ron DeSantis, thank you for joining us on The Balance. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much.